Welcome to the College Insights Online videotaped explanations to the tests in the College Board's official SAT study guide. This is Test 2, Section 2, questions 16 through 20. Okay, we're told these two things. X squared over y is an integer, and x over y is not an integer. And then we have to find out which of these pairs of x's and y's is going to make this true. So for A, we'd have x is 1, y is 1, so 1 squared is 1 over 1 is an integer, but also 1 over 1 is still an integer. For B, we'd have 3 squared, which is 9 over 2, and 9 over 2 is not an integer. For C, we'd have 16 divided by 2, which is 8, but unfortunately 4 divided by 2 is an integer, so that doesn't work. And then for D, we have x squared is 36 divided by 4 is 9, which is an integer, and 6 divided by 4 is not an integer, so answer choice D satisfies our rule, and that's why it's correct. This is the graph of y equals negative 2x plus 6. And we're asked to find the graph in the answer choices that would be the graph of y equals the absolute value of negative 2x plus 6. So let's just throw a couple of points in there. If we make x 4, this becomes negative 8 plus 6, which is just 2. So our x value is 4, and our y value is 2, so we'd be up here. Let's try another one. Let's try x equals 5. In which case we'd have 5x would be negative 10 plus 6, which is negative 4, and then the absolute value makes it positive. So now our point is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's up here. And let's try something in this range. Let's try 1. If we put 1 in for x, we would have negative 2 plus 6, and that would make y 4. So our point would be 1, 4, which is right there. So just from what we've got, we're going to end up with a graph that looks just like answer choice B. For question 18, we're going to stick a rectangular solid inside of this circular cylinder, and we need to figure out which would represent the volume of that rectangular box. Well, volume is length times width times height for a rectangular solid. And so if we have a cube in here, I'm not going to try to draw it, it's still going to be height. We're going to have the height. And then the length times the width is basically going to be the same, because it's going to be whatever d is in this case. And so that would be d times d, which is d squared, times the height, and that's answer choice B. Okay, we're going to have a simultaneous equation here. It says the square of x, so x squared, is equal to 4 times y squared. And we're also told that x is 1 more than twice y, so twice y plus 1. From there, we're going to try to isolate and solve for one of these. I'm going to go after solving, I'm just going to say that take this x equals 2y plus 1, so 2y plus 1 squared, which is going to be this value, equals 4y squared. And if we factor this out, we get 4y squared plus 4y plus 1 equals 4y squared. We can get rid of our 4y's here, and we're left with 4y equals negative 1, and that means that y equals negative 1/4. And then we're going to bring it to this equation, and that says x equals 2y, which is negative 1/2, plus 1, and that just equals 1/2, and that is answer choice E. Question 20 is based on the fact that the product of perpendicular lines is -1. Okay, that's just a rule that you need for this one. So the first thing I did is I figured out the slope of L, because it passes through the origin, 0, 0, and also 0.21. So I had 1 minus 0, which is my y's, over 2 minus 0. So 1/2 is the slope of L. And so if the slope of L is 1/2, when you multiply the slope of Q, you're going to end up with -1. And what that tells us is that x equals -2, because 1/2 times -2 is -1. So now we know the slope of Q, and we just need to figure out what point T is. So the equation I'm going to set up is my y, 1 minus T over 2 minus 0 equals -2, because that's the slope we're looking for. And now 2 minus 0 is just 2. So 2 times -2 is -4 equals 1 minus T. And if we just add 4 to both sides and add T to both sides, we end up with T equals 5. And that is answer choice E.